allowed 4 plays that, and I hate to keep coming up here and talking about communication because we've been good the last couple weeks, but 4 plays cost us the game. And I'm not even worried about the third down penalties that extended drives. They didn't need any help, but that's football. Okay, sometimes you're going to get football plays and you're going to get a penalty here and there. They're going to get their plays in the run game, but we can't give them anything. And if we don't give up those 4 individual plays, we win that game. And so that's that. And I'll take responsibility for that because they shouldn't make those mistakes. Defenses that we know, and we didn't get it executed. So we're, like I said, we're working to make sure we minimize those mistakes moving forward. But we can't keep coming up here. I can't keep coming up here saying the same thing. Got to get it corrected. We have a good football team, and we have to do what we need to do. From an injury standpoint, we lost a lot of guys, and so, but like I like to say, injury is just like blocking, tackling, running. All right, it's part of NFL football. So we got to give these other guys opportunities. Sometimes you get your opportunity, you become a star. So I'm excited to see the guys that are going to come in and play. And we always talked about rolling with a deep crew, so they got to come in and be ready to rock and roll. So with that, I'll take any of your questions.
Hey, Joe, when you talk about like communication issues, is it what happens there? Because sometimes it looks like maybe a lot of guys are playing the right coverage, and maybe
it's one guy.
What is it? So is that a communication, or is somebody not recognizing?
It's a little bit of both. Communication is sent, received, and acknowledged. So there was 2 cases. The communication was correct. That was sent. All right. It wasn't received by the person that needed to get it, and bad things happen. One time, this communication that was sent was wrong, and the guy, he received it, and he played what was told to him, and we let a free runner go. And so either case, I got to do a better job of making sure that it's sent properly, it's received, and it's acknowledged, and we play it the right way. It's unacceptable.
And then you look at the defensive line with obviously John out. What have you seen from Johnny Newton the last couple weeks that he's getting more reps can be?
Yeah, he's trending in the right direction. He's a young man that has explosion, that can shoot gaps, that can play with big people because he has power. He's a very strong man, and I'm just excited to see what he's going to be able to do with more reps. We're gonna probably move him more down the line like we've done with Payne a little bit in some of those spaces. So he's gonna get the opportunity to play more, and we need him. We need him to play well. I'm sure he will.
When everybody was putting the roster together back months ago, and Frankie Luvu's name comes up, how much prior to that had you had a feel for everything he could possibly bring, and what was for you the process of being like, wow, okay, this is somebody that makes sense for us?
First, Frankie plays the play style that we aim to want to play, and so and I don't want to get into comparing players, but the way that we utilize Micah in Dallas is the way that we utilize Frankie here. We play him off the ball. We play him. You've seen him at the end. You've seen him at a 3 technique. You've seen him zeroed up over the center. So very, very similar to those things that we did with Micah. We blitz him when he's off the ball. He's a dynamic player. We try to get him on the back as much as possible. We try to get him on the lineman that we think he can beat as much as possible. So he's a stud that we tried to feed, and we have to keep doing that.
And with Duran, obviously with John out, I'm sure more is expected of him. I know stats don't always tell the story. In this last game, he didn't record a stat of any kind in the standard book. Is that a reflection on how he played in that game, or is that just an aberration in terms of how
sometimes that's going to happen. I'm not going to just dive into stats, totally. He's given us what we want for, the run game. All right, they ran for yards. It wasn't because of him. All right, it was some other issues that they ran for. So, he's one of our leaders, and he's doing the things that he needs to do.
You guys held the Ravens pretty well at the early,
we started off the game the right way. Yes.
So was it solely just communication that changed from that point on, or were there other things that?
Well, first off, they're a good team. Okay, so let's make sure they were going to get some yards and get their. Some of the contested catches and some of the, scheme runs where, Lamar, we might have been in a single high defense and he ran the ball. All right, he got 8, 12 yards. Some of that's going to happen against them. They're good. The issue is when we make a communication and we give up a free runner because they don't need help. All right, and if we do what we're supposed to do, they might score 20 right there. Okay, all right, and with our offense, 20 wins the game. But when you give up those explosives, you get 30 put on you, and you lose a game. Again, a game that you should have won, that we should have won, but we didn't. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. All right, so I'm not. I'm very frustrated about it because I'd rather a team come out and just beat us. All right, and then I don't know if I can live with it, but it is what it is. But it's hard to deal with when you help a team beat you, and so that's the answer there.
And this may be a dumb question, but what are some of the challenges when you go from playing more zone to playing more man for the guys on the back end? What's really the challenge in adjusting?
When you're playing more man,
more man coverage on the back end.
I mean, it's now you have your guy. Your discipline is on. All right, what's that man's skill set compared to your skill set? What routes does he run? If you're pressed up, inside, outside release, what are you getting? When you're playing more zone-listed coverage, now you can see the formation. You can play looks to own, which you really don't play as much when you're playing man. You're locked into your individual guy, and we do a combination of both.
Coach, do you feel like your second, third level defenders are attacking outside D-gap runs aggressively enough right now?
That's a good question. I think at times we have, and at times we haven't. From a crack replace standpoint, sometimes I believe that we've been a little bit late at times, but sometimes also we've gotten upfield too much, and so it's been I want to say popcorn where all right the end might get upfield too much, and now it's a crease, or we've shut it down with the end really well, and we've gotten cracked with the backer, and now we got to have support from the outside. So we have to take that popcorn away and just play solid.
And then there's some defensive coaches who will be okay giving up 3.5, 5.5 yards on a run here and there to prevent the big chunk play in the passing game. As long as you shut them down, obviously in the red zone, force field goals, get takeaways. Are you in that school of thought, or do you have a different view on it?
It depends on the opponent. If we feel like they have a guy that's on the outside that can really get vertical, okay, all right, we're going to have to cover them up sometimes. And if they hit us for 4 or 5 yards there and there, but we can't let the explosive out. That's what can't happen. If you're in a shell defense, if they get 4 or 5, okay, you can live with that. They can't get 12, and we're letting them get 12, and so that's what we got to do a better job of. And so that's where it is.
Coach, when you're describing some of the miscommunication challenges, is that kind of, when you look back at the film, was that some of the challenges you saw in the coverage of the Ravens wide receivers? So Zay Flowers.
Oh, Zay just had a good day. Zay just had a good day. All right, he hit the screen early on. We misfitted from a standpoint of should have had one outside and inside, and then the big guys coming. But I can't think of any of the plays that were the four that we really had communication issues. There were none with Zay. Zay had a good day.
And what challenges do you see looking ahead to this coming week? What challenges do you see that the Carolina Panthers offense could give you all?
Oh, well, the first thing, what's his name? Jackson, the young man, number 5. He is Johnson. So I hadn't seen him, and so everybody had been talking about how good he is, and I hadn't seen him. And then I put the film on, and I was like, oh my goodness. This kid can separate. This kid can play. He's been in Pittsburgh. I hadn't been around him, so he's dynamic. He's a dynamic young player that I enjoyed just watching. So the running back runs hard. He's really good. He reminds me of the guy from Arizona. Runs downhill. He's a puncture runner, sets the edge, and then he tries to get back down. They have 2 really good guards that can block and move people. Quarterback that plays on schedule as much as possible, that's been in this league a long time, been against him a couple times, and he knows where to go with the ball. He knows how to get the run checks along with the pass checks. He's very smart. So they're an offense that has weapons, and we have to make sure that we control them.
Last week you were lamenting the lack of interceptions. You got one this week. Is that something that you guys spent extra time on this week? Is that something that you have to build on? What can you take?
No, we got one interception in 6 games. I mean, that's just not what I'm used to. And so it was a tip. Mikey made a really nice play. we got to get more, man. We went into this game saying we need 2+ turnovers, which we had one. We talked about their issues with putting the ball on the ground at times. The ball was on the ground. That would have been 3 points if we would have picked it up and went through 3 of our hands. And so that changes the game as well. But we didn't get it. And so once again, we got to make those plays when you have the opportunity.
And when you look at the Panthers, who are now playing a obviously much more veteran quarterback through the last couple of games, is it tougher to take advantage of a guy like that who's kind of been there, done that?
Well, he's seen a lot, but we're going to try to force the issue some, and so we'll see. He's a veteran guy; he's seen a lot, so we'll see. I can't really answer that one because until the game happens, I have a lot of respect for him, though. I'll tell you that.
Coach, the Panthers activated the window on Jonathan Gross. On the outside, not many of us expected to play, but how much does that play into your preparation anyway?
We're really, from a standpoint of how we're going to defend them, I'm really looking at how the coordinator's calling it and how he's been doing it since they switched the quarterbacks, and so I'm not really tweaking from any other concept from that standpoint, if that makes sense.
All right, Cliff called that flea flicker running back screen. I haven't seen that before. I haven't found anybody who has. Have you seen that play before? Did you see it? 'Cause you're
I'm gonna tell you, I saw 2 plays really from the offense. The great throw that he threw to, I think, Terry, and then he threw another one to Terry on 3rd down. I'm not. Man, did you see the game? My head was down trying to figure out what was going on. So I heard about the play. No, I didn't. I didn't see it. So
Have you ever seen another team run that? A screen off a flea flicker?
Not necessarily, but Cliff is doing an outstanding job of scheming things up. So I'm glad he's with us.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right. Y'all have a good one now.